match history, we lost, but I hit 8 CS a minute both games on Kale.
Playing Kale. I love it, dude. I'm really... I'm glad that you're feeling good. I'm glad that you're feeling good.
Oh, yeah, no, like, we lost, but, like...
It's not the end of the
How
world.
do I say it? How do I say it politely? That's a better question.
Stream appropriate. This is the late night stream, though.
Stream,
so...
This is a late night stream. Okay. Would we posting this anywhere?
I'm about to, yeah. We're live, so,
Okay.
like, feel free to talk, but I'm about to post it
Okay.
places.
No, it's one of those things where, like, when... this is, like, it's frustrating at times, right? Playing with this group of people. Like, just because, like, but, like, this experience playing for Donut Shop is the experience that I have wanted the entire time I've been playing competitive. Right?
Okay.
Like, I am getting to experience a group of disparate people coming together as a unit. Like, that is what I'm getting to experience. Like, I cannot even say, like, there were, like, super long periods of time where, like, we were just losing every scrim. Losing flex games, you know, like that kind of shit, like that level of like frustration. I'm dropping this in community content.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Community streams over in EDL.
I was gonna drop it in do that. Go for
I
it.
don't have the content role, so
I think I do because I am.
if you have the content role, you do it.
They allowed me community content. There we go.
Yeah.
AFTERSHOCK.
I don't have the ability to boost.
Tex and Leper. Leper's After Dark. Leper. There we go. Leper's.
Oh yeah. So like, what I was saying was that, like, I'm getting to experience coming from like a disparate group of people that really didn't know what they're doing and like coming together as a unit, you know what I mean? So like, it's still rough, but like, it's definitely feeling like we're coming together and like are on the same page. And that experience is what I've wanted for the 2.5 years that I've played on competitive. Like, we've just played one game, but I've played with these people since like the beginning of November of last year. So like, I played with these people a lot.
Yeah, it's like 4 months.
Yeah, and this is my favorite group of people that I have ever played with, right? Like I have fun. Like, they've really helped me with my mental. Like, I know that there's like been the vibe in some situations, you know, of just like just attack Leper and he'll tilt out of the game, right? And like, I've become more of like the Rock, and I've been doing that. Like,
good.
Yeah. So like, I had a fucking blast tonight. Like,
if you can lose with the team and come out saying that shit, like, if you can lose and say I had a good time, you're that's peak. That's peak.
I had an absolute great time tonight.
That's always the goal.
I know that I am the least frustrated one on my team, but I also have lost more games and more competitive series than the rest of my team, right? Like, that's the other part. Like, so like, it's a really weird statement to say that, like, I'm happy that like nobody has any expectations on me except like except losing.
Except for Cole.
Like,
except for our new friend who.
Azzy and I are the only ones on this team that Cole knows. So like, of course he like mentions my name, right? Of course. It's week 1. He don't know nobody else.
You don't know shit.
I'm just old Grandpa Leper, sitting here playing in IBS for like 14 years. Like,
just a Leper gap.
Well, can we say it was a Leper gap? Mystic was saying you got focused tonight, is what she was telling me.
Oh no.
Especially in game 3, like, they really did not want me to just like free farm all game.
Yeah.
So,
well,
like,
you're on fucking kill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's let the kill free farm. It'll be fine.
It'll be great.
Level 16
like,
at 20 minutes is
fine.
fine. Or 15, whatever level 6 reasonable timings are.
Like, I mean, definitely nerves got to me, you know, where like game 3, like, I was sitting there, like, sitting there feeling a little bit, but like, it was fun. Like, it was fun. Like, looking at the results, like, things kind of went as I expected. For the most part. Like, I think that Snack Bear's TDS Chocolate was like the most even matchup, you know. Now, I will say the most surprising thing to me is that Glacial Phantom took a game off ED.
Okay, I need to go back. Okay, so I saved specifically. I was peeking on Fritz's stream, which Fritz, thanks for letting me peek. You're a great guy. If you're watching or end up watching, that was well. Maybe I shouldn't say that right away. I don't know you that well, but for 15 minutes of watching you play League of Legends, that was fun. But let me see. Stream assets. There we go. So I was looking at game 2. They lost to Glacial, and it looked like it was in the mid lane. Nico Harry McDonald's had a 10-3-7 Nico in that game, which just blew my mind. And BD Apathy did not have a good game that time.
Turn me up.
What'd you say?
Turn him up.
Asking if you could turn me
Turn you up. Turn you on, turn you up, turn you around. Yeah, no, I had a.
You already turned me on, but like they do want to hear whatever happens as you turn me on.
Absolutely,
Oh
absolutely.
God.
I need to turn both of you guys up. I had you pretty low in Discord, so I'll just lose a little bit of hearing, increase my tetanus by a little bit, but that's okay.
Of course.
Everything for chat, always for chat.
Well, and okay, so the first hot take of the night that isn't really a hot take. Okay, so Leper's a bit tipsy at this point. I made lavender syrup the other day, so like I've got like ginger beer, some nice bourbon, and lavender syrup all mixed together. It's great.
Good time.
So, what was I gonna say? Okay, this is what I was gonna say. So, when teams like BDE Lucid historically struggle when somebody else on the team pops off. We saw this for years, and I'm going to throw your longtime Revolution founder, the Doc 1992, under the bus here. So, like, Doc was so good at shot calling a game and creating the situation where, like, his team knew exactly what to do, right? Yeah. But if somebody randomly popped off, or like you stopped him from getting like to page 1 of the script, like the team fell apart and they would lose spectacularly. And this is kind of what like the BDE Lucid team feels like. Like I'm not as worried about that with like AH Tyranny.
Sure.
Because like I've seen them get shit on and then just come back through like immaculate team fighting. You know what I mean? In the past. So like you pointing that out, it makes sense to me that Lucid lost given that. But just that's me and my thing.
That would be interesting to see how that plays out. You mentioned AH Tyranny, and I was really impressed with AH Tyranny. And on the flip side, I only got to check the back 2/3 of the last game of Tyranny versus Syndicate. Mm-hmm. And Cole, I want to get some of your thoughts on that. But similar to what you're talking about with BD Lucid, I get where you're going with Tyranny. I think I understand where they like don't quite have that issue, and that might give them have them be the cut above. Syndicate, I was not the most impressed by. I thought they had some cool showings, some cool moments. I know you're in the chat, Agency 6. I thought you did a really good job of positioning in some of the fights that I got to watch. That was really cool. So I'm excited to see where you guys go, but there was some decision making that I saw on that team that wasn't quite there. And maybe it's first game, first stream series jitters, but I was not as impressed as I wanted to be with those guys.
That was the official stream game.
It was the official stream, and I only saw this much of it, so I only know
I'm gonna definitely watch it tomorrow because like I wanted to watch that series. Like having like I was on the who the fuck is AH Tyranny train last ZGG
Isn't it
split.
Abyssal
Like
Haven
that was
Tyranny? Is that what it's supposed to say?
That's what it stands for.
Or is this like a CB? Is this like a CB rookie situation? We're not supposed to say CB anymore.
I don't know. Ned, are we able to? Should we say Abyssal Haven? Should we say AH? What do we need to do here?
Yeah, we'll have to find out. Abyssal Haven. Okay, so we can say it. We can say the words.
Yep. Okay, we can say it. Okay.
Perfect.
Back when they were TFF Solar, like I really was not like paying attention to this team at all. And then I played them my first round of ZGG playoffs and got my ass absolutely fucking handed to me, right? And I say that even from like a position of strength at the time, right? Like we were definitely like had leads, we definitely were ahead and just absolutely just demolished So like they are my favorites to win the split. Like they've retained the roster. Like they are an incredibly strong team, and like I know that they are not like as needing to be on script, given that their script is to be really good team fighters. You know what I mean? Like they have, especially like with, and I told him this to his face, so please ignore me, but like especially now that they have arguably one of the greatest IBS players of all time in Reigning Wolves, there, like they've definitely made some upgrades.
I want to, Cole. You got to cast all 3 games. What are your thoughts?
I did.
What were you going into that feeling about Tyranny and Syndicate, and then what are you coming out? What are you feeling differently about them?
So, coming in, I mean, we obviously saw Tyranny. If you watched any of the preseason tournament, they ended up winning it all, and they beat BDE, who like obviously it's like, oh, you know, the team that won last split, they're coming in, same org. I mean, it's different roster, but same org. You know, they're known to have very good silver teams, and Tyranny ended up beating them, and I don't think anyone really was like, Tyranny. No one really expected them to be this, you know, good team. But once they actually won the preseason tournament, everyone's like, okay, well, this is actually a good team. Like, this team is no joke. And then on stream today, like, yeah, they ended a bit early. I think some of their games early were a little weird in the decision making, but they're team fighting, man. They have to be the best team fighting team in the league.
It's
like,
nuts.
They are all on the same page, and they all play so well with each other. It's pretty nuts that this is like legitimately a IBS team. Like this team is disgusting together. Okay. So coming out of it, Tyranny, like I don't know at the moment if there is a team in the league that can beat them team fighting wise. Like, yeah, you could get an early lead and then play through that, and like you might just be able to just overwhelm them when you smack them, you know, with your wallets where you're up like 5K. But like if the game is like 2K lead, maybe 3K, and you fight, they're gonna beat you. Because they're just that good at team fighting. And I've never seen this from a team in EDL that, like, they are just this good at team fighting.
I'm really curious. Okay, so this is a little bit of bias, but I was really impressed with Revolution Frontline today. They had 2 longer games against Pearl, but the team fighting and there was a moment, I think it was in game 1, where they were on blue side, Pearl on red side, and Revolution was approaching Dragon from the Raptor pit, and they're approaching that entrance to the river and funnel, and they noticed Oriana, right? Fuck, Oriana, Vi, Leona. I don't want to walk through that funnel and end up in that situation. They did a little bit of a dance, and they repositioned relatively quickly and get around and went through the river. Like, I know it's a small thing, but it's like, for an IBS team, and I think what you feel about Tyranny is what I felt about that moment with Revolution, where it's like, holy shit, they didn't just power through the funnel and get like sombreroed into like fucking non-existence. They walked around the river, went through the wide opening, and then split the team of Pearl apart. And so with that being said, and like I've only really seen the Revolution games, it makes me excited to see some team fighting focused teams like Tyranny and Frontline play each other later on.
And then TD Syndicate coming in. I have them ranked pretty high. I thought a lot of their players, I think individually this team is very skilled individually. I think they have a lot of great players on their team. But coming together, it just didn't really seem like they were all on the same page. I talked about it in my rankings that like, you know, they really like, you know, this jungler. They play around their jungler. I think their jungler makes a lot of the plays for the team. I don't know if he's the shot caller. Obviously, I wouldn't know. I don't hear comms, but it looks like he is the one making plays, and the team is kind of following up. So I think this team just really needs to solidify some sort of play style. I think their AD had an exceptional series. I heard that was his first ever competitive match, and if it is, like, holy shit, man. Like, he did really damn good.
Agency 6, man.
Yeah, and I think, you know, with some more time, obviously, like, you give him a couple of weeks playing competitive, like, I think he could be one of the best ADs in, like, the EDL. I think he could be at the top, and if TD Syndicate can really solidify this play style of, like, you know, They play around their jungle AD. I think they could be, contending for, top 4, maybe top 3. But I really need to see, things improve, because as of right now, they seem to me like a 4th place team, 3rd place. I just still think it's good. Like,
Right.
Don't get me wrong, 4th and 3rd is good.
That's top cut,
But like, as of right now, Tyranny is just on another level. And after today's games, I don't necessarily see, at least for me, a team that can really contest with them at the top.
Well,
that will change, obviously.
There's very few individual players that can really sit there and compete with the individual strengths that Tyranny has.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, they micro team fights incredibly well. Like,
Yes.
it's insane.
Yeah, I don't know, man. These guys are really crazy, but I'm hyped for Rev though, because I'm hoping they finally, this is finally their year. I think it's been coming for a very long time, at least in EDL.
7 minutes?
Obviously, CGG's a little different, but I'm hoping in EDL this is finally it, because they've had a rough time in EDL and EGL. Like they've gotten cucked by some tiebreakers that unfortunately have not gone their way, and I'm really hoping this is finally the year where they contend for the top and have a chance at winning. So I'm definitely hyped for it.
We had a version of our EDL roster go to finals in ZGG. So what it is just like we power up at EDL and then we go kick ass in ZGG. That's what we're doing.
It's just a conspiracy. Cole is making sure that the tiebreakers never go your way.
I actually just rigged the league, Oh my god.
You do it also, VBU wins.
Oh yeah, VBU obviously, comes through the losers bracket, wins the league. It's just
it was all set up.
Yes, of course,
all
they
set
had
up.
to. They had to lose. But I want to say, or at least like, get your guys' opinion before I go, because I have to go in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I thought I could just get this through. So next week, obviously, we have some banger games.
Specifically, Rev and TDS. Just saying.
Yeah, that is going to be a good game. But after week 1, I want to get your guys' thoughts. Like, what is kind of the team that really surprised you the most? That you really think, like, damn, like, after week 1, these guys, like, they really showed me something. And I think they have a lot of potential. I just want to get your guys' quick thoughts before, obviously, I dip.
Okay, so I'm going to go with a pretty basic answer here, but G&E Pearl. So I'm obviously really excited about Revolution Frontline, but I think it's unfair for me to be too biased here. Even though it's my channel and my team, fuck it. But I want to talk about G&E Pearl a little bit, the ISU team. They, like, especially one thing that they showed that was really cool to me was confidence at all stages of the game and adapting to losing. So especially in game 1 when they were behind, they kind of, it clicked naturally for them how they transitioned from we're close, and then when mid-game hit, we're behind, and they played like they were behind with the not like they're scared or tails between their legs, but with they're going, we're going to do this to get this advantage, and we're going to sacrifice these other things, and it was very intentional and very confident, and they carried that confidence into game 2 and had a great early game in game 2, and just kind of it got away from them. Team comp was kind of iffy and required like almost perfect execution, but I was really impressed with G&E Pearl. I had no expectations, positive or negative, just nothing. Just zero about them, and I was really happy with what I saw.
All right, Leper, you're up next.
I have no surprises. Like, I know that sounds awful to say, right? But, like, the teams that I really didn't know anything about, Glacial Phantom and G&E Pearl, like, I didn't really see anything that was, like, terribly interesting. Like, Snack Bears, even though they won the series against me, like, I definitely don't feel like they belong higher than they were ranked. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really have surprises. Like, I'm more surprised by, like, Glacial Phantom taking off a game off of BDE Lucid than pretty much anything else here.
Do we have Glacial Phantom very high in general?
No, we had him very low. I had
him
very low.
I had him 8th.
Okay. So that's a good sign for them.
It's a very good sign.
Bottom team taking what we believe to be one of the best teams. That's pretty good.
So this is my take, and this is, I think Cole did an actual incredible job of selecting teams and I don't know what process that they used, because I think that the league overall, top to bottom, is going to be pretty close, and that Tyranny is probably the only outlier.
I mean, you picked Revolution, so like everything else is a wash.
Okay.
Oh my God.
No, I see where you're coming from though. That's genuinely after. I think that's my kind of like to be influenced by you here, Leper. I think my ultimate takeaway is like, dude, this whole league is very competitive. There was only 1-2-0 in week 1.
And even then, the second game of that went to 47 minutes.
Yeah, it was a 50-minute game too. That they were winning. G&E was winning for the first half of the game. Like,
oh no, Downfall. We're putting all the expectations on you. We're deep throating you for like about 10 minutes there.
Leper likes to do that, just in general, conceptually and literally. We don't know. But yeah, no, I think it's a very competitive league this time around, and each team's got a storyline, which I'm excited about, and we're already starting to see some stories, right?
And from a content perspective, stuff like this is amazing. You know, like it's so much fun to talk about this, because it's like sitting here and looking at this, right? Like, you have so much growth potential from all of these teams, and you have moving down potential from all of these teams. You know what I mean? So like, when you have a league that is all close together, regardless of like where the top is or where the bottom is, when the entire competition is relatively close, like, you end up, it makes it more fun for everybody involved, because nobody is super happy when like it's week 4 and the rest of their games of the season don't matter.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to be in a situation where we're going to be fighting for playoff spots until the last minute.
Well, yeah, I mean, the last, what is it? Every single, I think, at least, well, I know EDL, but like every single game, at least for EGL last split, literally mattered to the last game. Like, it literally mattered if a team 2-0 or 2-1. Because
that's awesome.
There was a huge tiebreaker between 4 teams, like, for the last 2 spots. It's like, there's been, every single game has mattered. A 2-0 versus a 2-1 could literally mean your season. Like, I don't even rig this. Like, I don't know how it comes down to this. It just ends up happening. And it's actually, like, so insane, because, like, everyone's rooting. You know, you got people rooting for one team. You got people rooting for the other team who don't even play for those teams or don't even play for those orgs. They might not even know who is on that team, but they are still rooting for them. It's great. I love it. It's super cool.
I mean, and again, like, from a perspective as somebody who's made a lot of, like, content about leagues, like, this is awesome. I'm excited to be here. Don't you have to go?
I have to go now. But okay. Thank you guys for having me. Have fun.
Thanks for coming in, Cole. Appreciate it. I know you. Yeah. I know you weren't, and I wasn't planning on having anyone, but you were so pestering and awful and just toxic. It was bad. Yeah. It was just, God, you're the worst.
Of course, owner Gamp, you know.
Have a good night, sir. Right. Great cast today.
All right, thank you. See you guys. Peace.
All right, back to your regularly scheduled programming with no context or no structure and rambling and alcohol. Benoit, you shut up. You know who I am. I know who you are. Dangerous. He's saying he doesn't know for me. He just cheers for me. It's crazy. It's crazy, motherfucker. Dude, so let's look at matchups for next week. I don't have any. Guys, this is the only video.
So next week, obviously on stream.
Hey, TDS and Revolution.
TDS Chocolate and Revolution. We can't say TDS because then people get confused because they think I play for Toxin then.
TDS. So the
just
TD Syndicate Chocolate?
Just say the Donut Shop.
The Donut Shop. That's such a great name, dude. I fucking love it.
The Donut Shop and then TD. So Donut Shop and Revolution play. Snack Bears plays Glacial Phantom. BDE Lucid plays TD Syndicate, and Tyranny plays Genie Pearl. That's what we got for next week.
Gotcha. Snack Bears Glacial Phantom, I think, is going to be interesting.
I think that's just having played Snack Bears tonight, right? And given the way that they play, right? I definitely think that's a super Snack Bears favorite. Especially,
how does Snack Bears play?
What?
How does Snappers play? Like, what about them is like making you say in by playstyle that
their support, SNC Talon. You may know them as Talon Pogs. They just had such an absurd amount of map influence on champions that you wouldn't expect. Like, they really took advantage of picks like Zoe and Xerath that were really able to influence lanes from out of vision and from odd angles.
Okay.
So they were able to put a lot of pressure on mid and top, and you have to be able to like take advantage of that or resist that, because it really draws the game into Snack Bear's timing, if that makes sense. They're able to control a lot of the game as a result of atypical bot lane patterns. And so I have a hard time seeing a team that I don't know, unless they're like immaculately coached and know how to do that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I have a hard time seeing teams deal with that. Now, I will say, I think, and I'm sorry for throwing Snack Bears under the bus here, as the season goes on, I think that style is going to be less effective and more needs to happen elsewhere on the map for Snack Bears. But for right now, it's going to be really hard to deal with, and I think that they're going to rack up some early wins from it.
So we got Snack Bear favored over from our
heavily favored. Like, I think, and this is my hottest take, I think that's going to be the most one-sided series of next week.
Okay.
I think G&E Pearl is going to put up more of a fight against AH Tyranny based on like the matchups from this week than Glacial Phantom is against Snack Bears, just based on like how unusual it is to play against Snack Bears.
You know what, I'm transitioning a little bit here. Talking about matchups so I'm thinking about Frontline versus Chocolate. Frontline versus the Donut Shop.
Yeah.
And I know you're on Donut Shop. And
yeah.
I know Mystic's on Donut Shop. So I don't want to be that mean because I love both of you guys. And Mystic is on Revolution staff, so she'll tear it all down if I'm mean to her. But I think if Wingman comes out and Wingman played Braum 2 games in a row like he was playing fucking Leona in lane. Against Leona.
It was by far, when I played with him last split, because I played with Wingman last split, his most successful pick.
I want to see him take that kind of aggression on a champion that can really actually do that better in lane. Like, does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Like,
I understand exactly what you mean.
Basically, play like me. Okay. Just a little bit of
but you support to play like you and just go unga bunga under a
I do want everyone to play like that.
That's what you want.
I do think that type of aggression and focus on that bot lane would be a serious difference maker for that matchup in particular. I was kind of feeling like the reason I transitioned to this a little bit was when you're talking about the one-sidedness of Glacial Phantom versus Snack Bears, which I'd like to see Glacial Phantom take a game off Snack Bears. I'd like to see that, but I was thinking
it can happen.
They took it off of BDE Lucid. They could take it off. They could take a game from anyone at this point, at least 1 weekend.
That's absolutely fair.
But I was thinking like, how would Frontline be heavily favored? I don't think so.
No,
but
I think that Revolution versus the Donut Shop is going to be the closest series of next week. Then it would be like, if we're ranking them in terms of closeness, right?
Let's do it. Let's run with it.
With 1 being the closest and 4 being the least close, it would be Revolution Frontline versus the Donut Shop, BDE Lucid versus TD Syndicate at number 2, AH Tyranny versus G&E Pearl at number 3, and then Snack Bears versus Glacial Phantom at number 4.
Okay, I can see that. I'm curious to hear why you think Revolution Frontline is 1 in that, but I definitely can agree with the rest of that ordering. I think
why I think it's going to be close.
Yeah. What are the factors that are playing?
Trademark answer here is for me to go because I'm garbage and I hold my team back. Right? Like that's
Oh,
like
so you think
the
if you weren't on the
answer-
team,
the
it would
answer
be
that
wildly in the
most-
favor of the
most
donut shop.
people come to expect, right?
Okay,
Like that.
okay.
From me. But I think today I'm going to actually give an answer. Okay, so I think that you have a variety of good matches across the board. Does that make sense? As far
Like lanes and
as
stuff?
Lanes,
Okay,
like
yeah.
I think that like you have equivalent strengths in a lot of areas, right? And that like it comes down to as a series where neither team is like super favored as far as a particular area or a particular player.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't fairly like assess, hey, this person is stronger or this person is weaker, right? Like my biases, because I'm just as biased as a lot of other people, my biases tend to be against my own team because that's the way that I view things, right? Like I'm critical and there's mistakes. Anyway, that's irrelevant. My point being that I think that this series is going to come down less about like individual micro plays and laning as much as it is it's going to come around macro rotation, skirmishing, and so on.
Yes.
So it's going to come down to like which team works better as a team, and I think that those make really exciting close games. Now, to go further, because I'm kind of tipsy, I would say this, which is my concern for Revolution Frontline is how soon did their roster come together, and how well have they figured out their communication and shot calling, given that this roster was built overall with the Doc as a core member.
The roster has changed an incredible amount, and I think the two core players we still have from the original version of this team
Scruffo and Chicky Pie.
Is Scruffo and Chicky Pie, who are pretty tight IRL friends. So it's I can't speak to a lot of the details about that because I don't listen in on the comms and stuff for the teams.
Right.
But that's a good question. That's a good question. My take a little bit here is I think the top lane is pick on you a little bit outside of the bot lane matchup, which I think can be equalized with these two teams looking at each other, just depending on how they play it. I think the top lane is the one that I think is going to be like if we're talking about a close game, the closest matchup within a close game, because you're going against a Chicky Pie who is like an immature General Denobi. Honestly, like he's General Denobi when he was at MIT, right? He's General Denobi in his first split on Revolution for Rev's first team, right? And he's got lane dominance. He's got macro like team fighting awareness and positioning and stuff like that. And so like you've played against this guy before. It's just not Chicky Pie. It was Danobi or
I played against Chicky Pie.
I mean, what I'm saying is like historically, right? Like in general, you've played against the version of this guy before. So I'm really interested to see how you adapt. Not to put the spotlight on you too much, but
who knows? What I'll say though, and this is what I'll say, is if both of us come into this game on form, I don't think top lane is going to be the difference maker in this game.
No, okay. You think it's going to be what, mid lane jungle?
I think it's jungle. I think it's jungle. Given like Scruffo is really consistent, right? Really consistent.
It's always at melee range. Always at melee range. It's awful.
I mean, but she's still very consistent. You know?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. Like it's like he's very consistent, and like he's very comfortable sitting back and scaling, right? Like it's that kind of thing. So like it's very much, I think, on the junglers to set the tempo and control the game for their team. As he's not agreeing though. Mystic is bad.
I was reading chat real quick. Yeah, Mystic is bad.
Revolutions win.
So let's talk a little bit about how will we do this to so we don't stay on too long. Let's talk about the next one down the list, BDE Lucid, and then let's ping pong. So we started bottom, went to top. Let's go to the second to bottom AH
which
Tyranny.
is AH Tyranny, GNA Pro.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, this is not.
You think
I
this
don't
is
have a
going to
lot
be
to say.
closer than Snack Bears and Glacial Phantom?
Yes,
Okay.
I did say that.
You did say that. I want to hear your thoughts. Or,
And
have your thoughts changed?
This comes from AH Tyranny plays slightly more traditional.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Like that's literally it, right? Like it's like I think I have full confidence that I am going to curse AH Tyranny with favoritism. That their wonderful team fighting is going to fall apart like some sort of stained glass window getting hit with a rock, right? Like that's obviously what's going to happen, right?
Obviously,
no, but,
there's no question about it.
Right. I think that just based on the nature of AH Tyranny playing a more traditional style, it ends up being that G&E Pearl has more of a chance, or at least looks closer in the game, based on where AH Tyranny likes to team fight and so on. Like they might lose a team fight, right? They might end up in a disadvantageous position compared to Snack Bears versus Glacial Phantom, where I think the unconventionality of Snack Bears is going to make it a much wider divide. That's it.
Gotcha.
I don't think it's going to be particularly close.
And we've seen that Snack Bears thing play out. When last season in ZGG, we had a couple teams that would play like that, and it was kind of followed a script, right? I'm talking Snack Bears, of course, where it's strong early game, first half of the season, tanked the back half because.
And it's one, especially if you're and I don't want to use the word cheese because it's not.
It's not cheese. It's intentional and it's calculated.
It's a legitimate strategy. Roaming, a hard roaming support influencing the map is a super legitimate strategy. It's just more of when you have something that is somewhat unconventional like that or non-standard, especially in IBS or Gold. As the season goes on and more teams have the opportunity to figure out and that message gets around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people become prepared for it, do you have anything else in the tank? And that remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen. I think G&E Pearl could have the potential to steal a game from Tyranny.
I think they could. Absolutely.
Because I think they also kind of play unconventional. And I think if they leaned into the flex picks a little bit. So one of the things that they did that I wish they would have leaned into more. So they drafted mid Yasuo, top Gragas, and lane swapped at the start of the game.
I got you.
And they used Yasuo, Diana, Gragas to get picks and roam as a trio and do kind of some disruptive asymmetrical game macro. And they got a lot of kills and they were ahead early. But it just didn't translate, and a lot of that became because the budget within the composition was spread too thin. You had Diana, Zeri, and Yasuo all trying to vie for to gain value, to be valuable. And the only way that they could do anything was by, having gold and dealing damage, and that eventually got away from them. It was still a close game, 50-minute game. But I think with a little bit, a week's worth of time to hone that in, they could maybe threaten to take a game off of Tyranny. And even, honestly, just for me, I'll be excited to see them have a winning laning phase in mid-game. Even if they lose the game, it'll be good to see them take that against Tyranny. But the last team to talk about before we wrap this up real quick is going to be...
PDE Lucid versus TD Syndicate.
Exactly, yeah. Walk me through what your thoughts are. That's number 2 on your list of most close games.
This is the way I feel about it. This is the real way I feel about it. I feel that whoever wins this game pretty much cements themselves in second place.
In second place?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. This is the cut. This is the uppercut of the uppercut.
This is the cut of top 2. And it's going to be an absolute banger of a series. I would argue that with the people involved here, you might see a huge amount of trash talk.
Sorry, reading chat a little bit more. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the right way to say this.
Okay. A lot of trash talk, a lot of heated, a lot of energy.
I would expect, given the way that teams like these two play, I would expect whichever team loses this match to decline.
Okay, I see what you're saying. This is the break point. Whoever loses, it's their break point, and they're
when
going
you have
to...
two teams, and this is somewhat profiling, so my apologies. Somewhat based off of like org history, somewhat based off owners. You know what I mean? That both of these teams tend to rely on ego and motivation and feeling themselves and feeling good in a manner that, like, for like the old boomer goes, look at those kids over there fucking jerking themselves off.
You know,
that when you're a team that is based off of like confidence and like ego in that way, and your ego is challenged super hard, it can often be rather difficult to bounce back. So like that's why I expect.
I think I'm gonna agree with your take. I'm gonna expand the context or the conditions for it. Specifically, the decline of the team that loses. I'm gonna say that the team that loses is going to make or break. They will be third if they win the following. This is maybe dumb to say, but I'm gonna say it. They will.
I'm following you.
So whoever wins this is second. It's gonna be Tyranny, the winner of this game, and then third will either be the team that loses between Lucid and Syndicate, or someone else. And that's going to be determined if that team that loses between Syndicate and Lucid wins their next match. If they can bounce back the week after, if like being this like kind of the riding the emotions, right? If we're following that theory, I think I'm going to extrapolate it out a little bit and say that loss is going to hurt them, but it's going to hurt and seal the deal if they lose the week after.
Well, and what I'll say too, and just to go with that, week 3, they're up against Revolution Frontline and the Donut Shop. Gotcha. Teams that we both kind of expect to continue to gel and rise up.
And to be and that's going to be the floor of the top cut, right? Is kind of what we're thinking is those two teams.
Yeah.
And so if Lucid loses...
I think it's possible that Snack Bears ends up with that solid 4th place. Just because of like racking up early season wins with the 7-week season. You know what I mean? Like I can see that entirely.
I am really excited to see what happens next week. Obviously, I'm stoked for Donut Shop and Frontline. That's just gonna be a fun one.
So you know what we need to do, right? After the game next week. So since we don't really have to wait too hard after the stream to do this, is we need to do our trademark irrational predictions for the entire split.
Yes. We can even see about pulling in Decker if he's free for a night. Yeah, I have no context.
or Dragon Cole and Exernian.
Yeah. Oh, if we can get X and Cole in here, that'd be fucking sick. That'd be sick, yeah.
So everybody needs to harass Cole and Exernian about being on AFTERSHOCK next week in order to get them to do their irrational predictions for the season.
Yes.
So if you are watching this in VOD or whatever, like it looks like this entire chat is like Mystic, Age Tyranny, and one guy from TD Syndicate. So like this is the message for the guy from TD Syndicate. Okay, so. And I don't think Exernian knows what our irrational predictions
Exernian,
are.
you've got to go... if you ever had the chance to watch Silver Scraps for ZGG, every week 3, I think it was, we would go through and based on 2 weeks of gameplay, 2 weeks of matches, predict with zero rationality and zero basis in what would be reality, what the final standings would be. So... this is not to say that your predictions currently are irrational. This is no judgment of any predictions you've made. We are all agreeing to sit down and make just irrational predictions based on 2 weeks of matches. It's super fun, and we go back and look at it at the end of the season and look at how stupid we are. Last time we did a Hot Ones challenge. Whoever had the worst, had to eat Hot Ones like on the fucking YouTube thing, and that was great. So we'll probably do that again or something like that, right? So... get in on it after the games. You've got the energy for it.
If I remember right, like I think like the community.
Oh, they predict champions week 1. Well, okay, well, this is similar.
This is similar.
This is not playoffs, though. This is just into the regular season.
Right. Like, that's my favorite part about this, is, like, nobody gets anything right. Like, I think
I have the worst record, but it's not by much.
I think the best was Colonel, where he got 4 out of, like, 16 correct or something like that.
He did really good. He did really good. But yeah. So, next week, irrational predictions. We're going to see if we can drag Xernean or Cole in, if they can be convinced to do it. But if you're watching this, now or in the future, even if it's well past the date, doesn't matter. Go bog them. I'm sure they'll love that. Yeah, Agent C6, 4-16 was really good. It was not easy to guess.
I think I got 1 last split. 1.
I got 1 right as well, I think. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Can't remember.
But, well, Leper...
The community did pretty well. I think they got 3.
They did. They did better than you and I think they tied with Decker.
Yeah, something like that.
And Swifty did well, too.
That's how... When you're basing it off of, like, 2 weeks of data... Right, you're having to make a ton of predictions, a ton of guesses about what's happening, and especially when you're like doing it all in one group, everything is way more volatile. So like it's super difficult to like get it all right, because you're basically guessing off of like your gut and knowing players or not knowing players, and like trying to imagine like who's gonna grow and who's gonna remain stagnant and who's gonna crumble and all of that. And it's interesting, and it's really more fun to see like, well, this is where we were wrong, and like review the season
and see how far off we were. Right, that's some of the cool ones. But we're hitting just about 50 minutes on the clock here, so I want to let Leper last thoughts before we sign off.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay,
I have a question for you.
Hit me with it. I'm here for it.
Okay, so based off of week 1.
Oh fuck.
Week 1. I'm not going to ask you to do a whole team. Okay, and I'm gonna restrict this when I say you cannot include players on both sides. You could not have a Revolution line player against a Donut Shop player. Okay. What lane matchup do you want to see the most?
So you can't Donut Shop players and no front line
on stream next week.
Okay. What lane matchup do I want to see?
You can definitely pick Revolution frontline players. You can pick Donut Shop players. What lane matchup do you want to see? You can pick jungle versus jungle. Bot lane, I'm gonna say 2v2. You know what I mean?
I haven't had the chance to look at a lot of it. Like, I didn't get to see a lot of the BDE game. I didn't get to see a lot of y'all's game. I didn't get to see a lot of everything. I was trying to bounce around a bit, so I got a little bit of everything. But to keep up the hype on Agent C6 and TD Syndicate, I honestly want to see the laning phase between those guys. I want to see the whole game. Laning phase, team fights, etc. between those guys and Scruffo and Wingman, right? Like, I'm most familiar with Scruffo and Wingman, and I'm hyped about Agent C6 in the bot lane for TD Syndicate. So those guys, I think, would be really fun to watch. That's my take. What's your answer? To wrap us up,
what's my answer? Well, I was hoping that you were going to take a little longer so that I could think. I
can give you a secondary one, because the secondary one is going to be BDE Jungle versus what is it?
Apathy is really good.
Yeah, BDE Jungle versus Tyranny Jungle, I think, is what I want to see. Yeah, I want to see those two line up against each other.
Those two are probably the best junglers in there. I want to see. I think what I actually want to see, and I probably won't get this, but so I won't say that one. So what I'll say is this one. I being the top lane nerd that I am, I would like to see Chicky Pie against Downfall.
Chicky Pie versus Downfall. I'd love to see that too, man. That's going to be good. Chicky Pie is going to be an up-and-comer, dude. I'm excited for this guy. Also, yes, Rocky, we're talking about you.
Oh, yeah. I think Rocky's really good. And, like, Rocky was such a big part of... no, ignore me. I'm going to keep just going on about TFF Solar forever.
Wrap it up.
And no, Ned, I'm never going to recognize you. So, like, you can stop.
Who? Playing who? Lang what? Lang who? Who is it? Anyways.
Huh?
What?
Well,
Hey, Leper, this has been great. Thank you so much for jumping on.
it's been a lot of fun.
It's always good to
Hopefully
do
I come
stuff
down
content.
from all my drugs. So
Get down off those drugs, bud. Kidding. Do what you do. Do you live your life? Hey, everyone.
this was a lot of fun. So
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Question
Yes?
for anybody in the chat and for me and Tex. Did all the games get streamed in some fashion?
They did.
Where like we can actually go back and watch VODs and shit?
I can share that with you, Leper. I found all the streams.
I know Token streamed Snack Bears TDS.
BDE Fritz streamed BDE. And
Okay.
then I streamed Rev versus Pearl.
So and then Tierney was there. Okay, cool. So we probably are gonna get like a actually like good amount of VOD for content purposes.
I think so, honestly. Yes. I'm starting to fall apart. I'm starting to fall asleep.
4 out of 4 did. 4 out of 4 did, Exernian.
Yeah, all 4 did. So I did Rev versus Pearl. Token did Snack Bears versus Chocolate. BDE Fritz did Loose BDE versus Glacial, and then the streamed match was Tyranny and Syndicate.
Yep.
Yeah. So lots of content for EDL today. It's great.
I'm gonna have to watch all of them for next week so that I can act like I know what the fuck I'm talking about next week, and not like just like good at pattern recognition and have been in IBS longer than anybody else.
I wish you luck with that, Leper. I can't say I'll be able to do the same.
Okay. I'm just thinking out that loud here. Okay, because I'm still awake. I'm gonna ask you one more question today, Tex.
Okay.
If I am the most veteran IBS player that is playing in all 3 IBS leagues, do you know who number 2 is?
Do I know who number 2 is? The most veteran player playing. The next veteran.
I am the most veteran player that is playing in all 3 IBS leagues.
So now, who's the next most veteran player that's also playing in all 3 leagues?
Or across all 3 leagues.
Well, okay,
right?
when you say all 3, you mean Runeterra, EDL, and ZGG.
I mean ZGG, and I mean EDL. Now, keep in mind that my first season, I played jungle, and I played against Cole. Cole is now D2.
He's D1.
Whatever. He's Masters. Who cares? Who gives a shit? He's top 10 Soraka in the United States.
Yeah, he can go fuck himself. That guy's too cool. I use you clutch. No. I mean, no, that's not the right answer. I feel like I know that you're gonna say it, and it's gonna be so obvious.
You're gonna facepalm over this one.
Is it? Scruffo's not playing. No, it's not Scruffo.
It's not Scruffo.
Because I was like going like, is it someone that's newer? Because no Danobe, no Doc, no Lynx.
No Token, no...
It's not Nedis, is it?
It is.
It is? He said him on there, and I was like, oh my god.
Ned only is 1 split short of me.
Ned, you old man. You're a geezer like the rest of us.
More fun. You ready for this really fun fact? Ned was playing for FTD Gold in my first split. So he did not play in IBS, which is the only reason that we are not tied.
Oh, damn, dude.
So he played on the gold team for FTD and not the silver team.
That's nuts. That's actually nuts. That makes me think, shit, dude, that's crazy.
And that was... Shit. Summer Split 2019 of ZGG, the 5th ZGG season.
Also, this makes me feel like a poser. I was talking with my staff the other day with like Mystic and Scruffo and them. I've only played 2 competitive splits.
Yeah.
He's played like nothing. Anyways, Ned, that's crazy.
2 is really common, right? And what I'll also say is like 2 is really common. For most people, 4 is like the max. Like most people rank out without 4. I'm just really bad.
Oh, I mean, I guess I ranked out. I played 2 competitive splits, period, not just an IBS.
I got you. I mean, I just meant ranking out. Yeah, like most people rank out in 2 or 3.
Yeah. Well, that's a fun stat.
More common than 3.
I like that trivia. You should see if you can come up with some other trivia from the scene for next week.
I'll try to.
And we can like have like a slide I can put up that you can have.
Okay.
Little bit of amateur esports historian.
The random like IBS history.
That's kind of cool, dude. That's awesome. You and Ned are the OGs. All right, folks. We've been rambling enough. I've let Leper talk for too long. It's approaching an hour, and it feels like it's been 10 minutes. I love it. Thank you all so much for jumping in late night with us here at AFTERSHOCK. I'm hoping to do this as many Fridays as I can, pretty regularly. It'll at least be next week for sure. I'll be gone for the week after, I think, probably, because I'm going to be on vacation.
Oh, nice.
We'll
Then I'll work overtime and go to work at 5 a.m.
There you go. Something like that. Make some money. But, yeah, you guys, I'm just going to hard end the stream here in a second. You guys have a wonderful evening. I love all of you. Thanks for tuning in. And when we're doing Silver Scraps later in the year, check that out, too. Just saying. It's more content like this, but ZGG, it's going to be fun. Anyways, we'll see you guys at the next AFTERSHOCK. Take care.